When I last gave Kong a chance, it was pretty much by himself in the world of Monster Hunter and in the old world at that too, with a whole bunch of monsters loving to eat apes. And yes, there is a category I like to call the ape killers. Because again, these monsters were, known as natural predators of the ape-like species or the fanged beast-like species or in the ape-like lineage of the fanged beast here. So instead of Kong going through Monster Hunter on his own by himself and, not being able to really, I guess you could say, get more than just one chance here, I decided that not only are we going to use the Flooded Forest from Monster Hunter Rise here, but we are going to give Kong his entire species, his entire family. And obviously the rules are pretty simple here. They are fully healthy, meaning no diseases, all right, that are afflicting them. And we cannot use Elder Dragon level monsters, okay? We can't use any of these guys. We can't use Elder Dragons in general, all right? Because again, if we add them to the environment, it's just, okay, one bad day and the whole species is gone. So that obviously reduces their survival rating pretty much here. And considering Kong is a herbivore, or at least omnivorous, considering what I looked up for gorillas, I would actually have to say here I'm going to have to handle this a bit differently. So unlike carnivores, we're not going to really talk about too much competition because again, well, gorillas really don't compete outside of their own species, so that kind of just leaves it right then and there. But again, with that being said here, Kong is around the building levels here, and I think any ape that's also capable of going to V-Rexes, or capable of going toe-to-toe with V-Rexes, I'm trying to say here, should also be significantly around that level, with Kong being the apex of apexes among his species. So with that being said here, he'll be having his whole family. Children and females with obviously males and all that good stuff here. So let us begin with part one, and that is food. What would Kong, or the Kong species in general, actually eat here? Now, this is actually pretty important, as Kong species are seen to be, well, herbivorous, or at least by Kong's case, herbivorous here. And the sheer fact that, well, we see him eating bamboo, plants, and it's likely he will eat fruits as well. However, looking on the wiki pages and other sources here, it actually says that they're opportunistically carnivorous as well here. And I had to look that up because I'm like, wait a minute, are gorillas actually like eating meat? Now again, I'm not sure if you would count in as an insectivore, a carnivore, because, they specialize in insects. But again, apes will eat meat. They should be omnivorous, right? So gorillas should fall into that category as well. Considering they will eat things like fruits, nuts, and if they're offered meat, they're just like, hey, shoot, we'll take it. Yeah, just, give me that $5 steak. I got you. And so they'll eat it. So I do think that Kong's real dietary habits, or the Kong species in general, their dietary habits, really don't have to change. There are bugs here, the Alterophs and stuff like that. They do inhabit the region. So, they'll easily be able to eat any, bug that's there. But I do think that if we did have to give them some competition, it's definitely going to be from Bishaten. Now, Bishatens do apparently travel in groups. They never said how small or how big they are, but let's say they're around the same as I don't want to say a chimpanzee because they come in big groups here. I would probably say around the same as a gorilla. So, good family member individuals and stuff like that there. And Bishaten being a fruit eater, and considering the sheer fact that if it's in the region, that does mean there are fruits and nuts to be there. No diddy. So with that being said, Kong would be able to find things like berries, squashes, maybe melons as well here, and any nuts in the region. Now, for any small creatures that they will take opportunities to eat here, I do think the Roggies are definitely on the menu here. However, I do think a great Roggie could give these Kongs a fight. I mean, it's in the small building level categories, but again, it's got poison. So if the Kongs, don't take it out or intimidate it, then yeah, I could see the Great Roggy actually being able to take down a Kong, and then that's a feast for its entire group or clan here for weeks. There are also things like hermitors. There are also, again, the Altaros, like I said earlier. There are the smaller Ludris. Yes, those are also, on the menu as well here. I definitely could see them if Kong can definitely get them here. And, well, if they feel like it, Bullfango. Now, one of the few creatures I do think is just off the menu. Now, again, this is because they're opportunistically carnivorous, not that they are carnivorous here. And I do think that Slagtoff would definitely be off limits here. Slagtoffs can easily retreat into the much deeper marshes or the much deeper waters of the flooded terrains here. By the way, if you're wondering why I don't really cover environmental suitability on my channel, it's really because the creatures I'm putting are meant for these environments in general. So, yeah, just some food for thought. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't see Slagtop being on the menu because Kong's not going to go out of its way to hunt it a lot more here. But again, there are plants and insects in the area, so they will be able to, dig them up and eat them and just overall eat the plants and whatever bamboos they can find in the area, or just any plants in general. So believe it or not, for prey or food score, I actually give the Kongs a 9 to 10. They're not going to go out their way to really be hunters, and I definitely see them being able to easily just eat the plant matters around them. The only competition they really have is just Bishatin, which does take a point off. But now let's talk about another thing. Predators. Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting one here. Now, again, I did limit the list, so if you do not see Gerototus on here, it's because it's more or less relegated to the more deeper areas of the flooded forest here. So some of the more deeper and steeper areas where it's able to easily bury its prey and trap it in mud, which is something that I don't see the Kongs really getting themselves into, as those might stick to the higher areas and come down for water, but probably from more safer sources as well. Now, back on Skull Island, Kongs actually had a decent threat level of predators here. Threats to the adults, but especially the youngsters as well here. And this actually not only kept the population in check for the Kongs, but actually dwindled them. Because again, they only had one offspring. So with that one offspring, there were a lot of predators that specialized in taking out small prey. So in all honesty, yeah, it's not a good look for the Kongs here. But what predators are actually inhabiting this area? Well, for starters, I do think Tobikadachi is definitely a threat to small and younger Kongs. And, well, it can get away with them far quicker too. It's a very fast and agile predator, and the sheer fact that it went from being something that just eats, the insects of the ancient forest, to being able to hunt things like Kelby, Altera, and even the Slagtoff of the terrain, putting it in a much more competitive setting here. And, well, it can handle itself here. Even if the Kongs do try to G-check a Tobikadachi, if it calls its bluff, yeah, that's a Kong dead. I mean, it's not gonna back down. It can defend itself from Anjanath decently enough here. And, yeah, I don't think it's going to be able to back down from a Kong if it realizes it can kill it and just take its baby anyway. And then we have Royal Ludroth. Now, Royal Ludroths are relegated to the more beach-like areas, or the more, sandbars and mudslides and stuff like that there. And, well, Royal Ludroths would actually take the opportunity to take a Kong if they come too close to the water. This even includes young Kongs that don't know any better. But now, let's talk about something that will go out of its way to hunt down a Kong. Almudron. Now, if you guys have saw my Almudron ecology video, it is one of the few ape killers because it will prey upon Bishatin, and actually has a predatory turf war with Bishatin, even known to prey on the amphibians like Tetsukabra and Tetranodon as well. I actually see, sorry about that, I actually do see Almudron being a very big threat to the Kongs as well here, and considering the sheer fact that it could easily drag them and just drown them in the mud, yeah, I don't think that's gonna go well for a Kong here. It's definitely gonna be able to ambush them as well, but if it gets into a confrontation, that's a pretty big apex predator. They're not getting out that one alive. Next one up, Zinogre. Do I have to say it? I mean, this is a Thunderwolf. They have never fought anything like that here. Now, again, the Kongs will have some advantages. Being able to throw large boulders at their opponent does come in handy. But again, if the Zinogre just, weaves around them, because it is faster, a lot of these monsters are actually just faster than the Kongs in general. So imagine one that's faster than you and is going to hit you with a lightning claw as well. Yeah, that's over with. Now, I think it is now time we talk about the top 3 predators that are going to be the biggest threats and probably going to prey on the Kongs a lot more frequently. Starting off with Rathian. Now, Rathians were actually known to prey upon the Quechawachas and Congolalas of the old world. With them actually, just liking how they taste. I mean, shoot, let me get some Quechawacha meat, no diddy. But anyway, the sheer fact that Rathians are likely to swoop down and snatch either a baby Kong off its mother's back, or, well, snatch a Kong in general, because I do think the Kongs would stick to the more higher altitudes of the of the flooded forest here to basically keep themselves away from predators. However, Rathian being one of the few flying predators in the region, and yes, Astalos as well. But again, we're not going to include him in this one because I want to save him for another video. So, that being said here, yeah, I do think that Rathian is a much bigger problem than expected here. And if it's a hungry mama Rathian, yeah, a big Kong's going to go. Either way. But you already know what it is. We're going to talk about Anjanath. Oh, yes, the beastly glutton himself. The bane of any first-time player in Monster Hunter world. But in general, Anjanath is definitely only going to prey on these Kongs here. And it's one of the few that'll just straight up be in a physical confrontation. The Kongs approaching this like they're V-Rexes is not going to help it at all. This is a V-Rex, stronger, faster, and more durable than what they have back at home. And then the sheer fact that Anjanath also breathes fire. Yeah, there is nothing helping it at all here. Anjanath would definitely take advantage of these Kongs here and, well, would get a good meal out of it. Likely even carrying off one just to go feed itself somewhere else here. Like, it's just to add insult to injury to it, it just kills it and then just drags it off with like it's a whole trophy. It'll be an easy meal for it, just like the Great Jaguars were. But the number one predator I see the Kongs struggling with is definitely going to be Nargacuja. Similar to how leopards will prey upon gorillas, Nargacuja will have mincemeat with these Kongs. It hunted Kongolala and Quechawacha back in the old world, and hunted Bishatin in Rise. Okay, Bishatin is confirmed to be a prey item for Nargacuja. Again, this dude was the OG ape killer alongside Najarala. That ape meat must have just been good. Like, it is what it is. And the sheer fact that we know the Kongs really don't have a defense for Nargacuja, and even if they try to use the higher altitudes to get away, Nargacuja is one of the better climbers between the trio of him, Tiger Rex, and Barioth. The speed it has, especially at nighttime where it looks like a freaking ghost going in and out of the shadows, yeah, it could take out an adult Kong easily and easily just snatch a baby. Might even get a 2-for-1 special if it targets a female with her kid. There's nothing they could do to stop Nargacuja at all here. And in all honesty, the only way I could definitely see the Kongs even making out of this alive is because they have other food options. And the sheer fact that Nargacuja's favorite food is Kelby. That's the only thing. It just loves to eat Kelby for some reason. So with that being said here, the Predator score, I'm going to have to give it a 3 out of 10. They do absolutely horribly against these Predators here. The only ones I can give some leniency to are the ones they can actually intimidate, like Nargacuja. Oh, sorry, not Nargacuja, Tobi-Kadachi. But overall, the final score I have for these Kongs here are really 3 out of 10. And this is simply because of the Predators. And what good is having all this sorts of food if you can't even live to enjoy it? So, honestly, you know what we got to do next? We got to talk about the evolution here. And so, I came up with this here. Megapithecus giga, the green leaf ape. Now, these Kong species have actually taken their evolution to become more robust and tougher and to fit in with their green environment. The green coloration comes from their new ability, that being a more symbiosis here. Basically, they are able to bend plants to their will here, or bend this green-like energy that comes from a specialized plant known as the Oasis plant here, which was a healing plant used in Monster Hunter's world, and I do think there are a few in Rise. So them using this and them eating this grants them supernatural strength to the point where they can actually fight off Nargacuja and Anjanath a lot more successfully. And they're even able to hold themselves, off or hold off the likes of Rathians, making it so difficult that Rathians would just abandon them to find new prey. And so I think their inspiration for their strength would come from Garen Gollum. They're stronger, not as strong as Rajang or Garen Gollum, but strong enough to be impressive and to be a second guess to predators here. You see, their strength again allows them to box an Anjanath up, basically Mike Tyson style in Anjanath here. And so the males, which are much stronger, are known to be the ones to, well, I guess you could say live in a sort of king-like position above their troops and are able to throw rocks at the predators, massive rocks as well, meaning they're actually strong enough to dig in the earth itself, tear out chunks from the ground and throw it at the likes of an Anjanath or a Nargacuja, causing immense damage. But now let's talk about their fists, and I will actually give them brass knuckles, similar to how Brachydios has pounders. However, obviously, like brass knuckles, they're along each wrist, and I will actually have them be like this little spikes on the end of it, which do actually get sharpened as they scrape their fists against the ground here. So having these brass-like knuckles allows them to box with predators. However, the Kongs also have another ability, and that is sound manipulation here. You see, the Kongs utilizing their chests to actually create loud noises actually allows them to communicate with each other and actually allows them to, well, deliver warnings and intimidations to not only predators but other rivals. However, the Megapithecus giga actually has the sound manipulation to not only deter predators but to actually be able to, well, reduce their status effects here, meaning that if they beat their chest, they're actually able to cause distortions or basically disorientate predators and pretty much hurt their eardrums to the point where they can even disorientate an Anjanath and straight up knock it out with the sound manipulation alone, again making them a much more dangerous predator. Now, what about their relationship with the hunters here? Well, they're pretty much like Mizutsune. They're not a really aggressive predator, but during the mating seasons, males can actually be quite destructive, and unfortunately, hunters do have to put them down if they are in the wrong area. So, that being said here, that's going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.